of healing in the spotlight. All right, and so I'm going to bring out the star-studded panel. All of them are star-studded, but I'm going to bring these folks out. And then I'm going to do my best to just pitch questions and be quiet. All right, so first, I'm going to bring out the beautiful Grammy Award-winning singer, mental health advocate, actress, author, and podcaster. You all know her, you all love her, Ms. Michelle Williams. Yes, welcome, sis, welcome.
Good afternoon, good morning, evening.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. Now, we're going to welcome best-selling author, you all know her and love her as well, award-winning social justice activist. Every time I look on Instagram, this sister is fighting for somebody. So this sister does not mess around. And you know, she even got name checked by Miss Beyonce because she is the one. She is the one. She is an organizer, a movement strategist, a mother, and she's way too young and cute to be this, but she's also a grandmother, Ms. Tamika Mallory. Then finally, we have my brother, hip-hop artist, dad, wellness advocate, and business owner. You all know him and love him as well, Mr. Styles P. All right, so I'm going to fill in here. I'm going to do my best filling in, and we're just going to start off with a question I'm going to pitch to everybody. You go in whatever order you would like. And what I would love to hear from you is, how did you decide to become involved in being a mental health advocate? What was it for you that just made you say, let me go out here and tell my story and help the people out around their mental health? Whoever would like to start.
Ladies first.
I don't know if anybody wakes up and decides to say, I'm going to talk about my journey. Because it's a topic that you might want to keep to yourself. You don't want to be labeled. I know in our business, you know, sometimes you could possibly be seen as a liability. Will they be stable? Will they show up? And so you have all these thoughts. But I am the type of girl where I'm going to tell my story before you tell it for me. So it was drawn. It was a calling, and so I think we all have the fruit that shows that we're talking about the right thing.
Amen. Thank you for that. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sis.
I mean, I agree 100% that I didn't wake up one day and say I want to tell people all the things, but I certainly, it resonates with me when you say, Michelle, that no one else is going to tell your story, and I experience things like addiction and other issues because of the pressure and the stress of work. And at one point, you know, especially I went to rehab, and while I was in rehab, no one knew me. At least one guy kind of asked me like, oh, do you know somebody? I'm like, oh, okay. So now you know me. But no one knew me. I was under an alias. The basketball all-star Jason Williams helped to put me in a program. He facilitated getting me away in Ohio. And so people didn't know me. The medical staff was the only ones there that knew who I was. So I could have just never told anyone. But I realized that there were people who knew about the addiction, and I would not allow them to sort of hold that over my head. It just didn't feel good. And I think the next thing that happened was I realized my story was something that people needed to hear, because someone else would also be healed in the midst of learning that a girl like me, you know, it could happen to anyone. And so, you know, I guess that's why I told my story. But beyond that, in the work that I do, working in social justice spaces, dealing with families that are, you know, Breonna Taylor's mother said something this weekend. We were just with her last weekend, and she said, I'm dying inside. I'm dying inside. And she kept saying that over and over again. And I went to her and was like, you have to get a therapist. Like, you can't do this on your own. It just won't work. And so I think a part of my work has to be adjacent with mental health support and talking about mental health, because people who are seeing and suffering the abuse of what America puts us through, and what this world puts us through, they need it. You know, all of us need it. Just even picking up your cell phone and seeing folks dying all the time, there needs to be some counterbalance to that. And I think that, you know, I wouldn't be doing a good job if I wasn't also an advocate for getting the mental health support that we all need.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, of course. Of course, huh?
I didn't plan it either. It just kind of, I think when you work in the health field, starting off with Juices for Life, it started off as a community thing, wanting to see people of color, especially in poor neighborhoods, start taking care of their health physically. Then it just grew into all, as you grow and go through things in life. I've lost a daughter to suicide. So we serve an underserved community. So when you're dealing with health, I think it starts off with you look at health from one aspect, and then as you get to grow and you mature and meet other people and blossom, it goes that you understand you have to take care of your physical health, your mental health, and your spiritual health. So I believe when you're just in health and you're on a journey of pushing forward, I don't think any of us chose to be an advocate. People make you an advocate for seeing their work. So it's the people who say, you know, we like to talk to you guys. And I think it's my wife has a saying that I kind of use every day. When you go through tragedy and you go through things, you're gonna either break down or you're gonna break open. And I think when you break open, other people who have been broken understand. And it's like, you know, we're all gonna go through something, but as you start understanding that other people are going through things, some less than you, some more than you, some far less, some far more, you understand what the mission is, and then you just push forward from there.
Amen. Thank you for that. Thank you. Yes. Yes. So being people who are in the public eye, I would really love to hear a little bit about what is it like for you to constantly be out front, constantly be in front of people, and have to manage the day-to-day challenges and struggles that we all deal with. Would anybody like to start? What is that like for you all?
For me personally, you get used to it. Some days it's a lot, some days it's a little. And I think that's the point about speaking about mental health. You're never the same all the time. Like some days you have good days, some days you have bad days. And it's about knowing to maintain and understanding the mind state. For me, mostly it's little things, to be honest with you. Like I have a problem waking up and just looking at Instagram, so I have to, it overwhelms me somewhat. Like, you know what I mean? Just to see where technology is. I don't think humans are as advanced as technology is, personally, me. So just to see everything that's going on and how fast it's going on. I'll be 49 in November, so I'm from an era where
Gen X, whoop, whoop.
you know, when you think about it in terms of, I went from using payphones to cell phones, from reel to reels to you could send a song across the world in a few seconds. So just when you think about how fast time is moving, sometimes it becomes overwhelming. But good people keep you grounded and keep you wanting to push forward. So no day is the same, but you just know when you're on a mission, I think the mission comes first, and you just continue on with the mission.
Yeah, Miss Mallory, I heard you talk about the mission, right? You talk about you got to be out there and do that mission. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I try to quit my job every day, and, you know, just keeps pulling me back. Pulling me, you know, I'm telling you. You know, I always say it's very much so a calling, just like preachers who are like, I don't want to do that. Like, what does that sound? I don't want to hear from you, God, to continue down this path, because, you know, it changes you and it forces you to sacrifice so much. But I would say, when you said have good people around you, one thing for sure is I send text messages to Charlemagne all the time, and I'm like, Leonard, you see what he said about me? And you see, and he'd be like, you really looking at, like, are you serious? And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe it's not that bad. Yeah, let me do something else with my time. He's like, you know, y'all are way too focused with people on the internet. And it keeps me grounded. You know, I need that because when you're getting attacked all the time, and I mean all the time, people coming for you, people lying on you, making up stuff, you know, it does, I don't care what anyone says, it affects you. It definitely does. It gets into your system, gets into your psyche, starts making you feel like, you know, you want to fight. I sent a YouTube video to some lawyers the other night, and I was like, that's it, we suing them. Let's do it. I'm ready. Like, finally, I get my Cardi B moment. I'm suing somebody, and I'm taking them down, right? And the lawyers wrote me back and was like, we can do it, because they definitely lied. I mean, they had so many lies in this thing. It was terrible. They said I fly private jets and steal money from families, and I never show up again. I mean, it was just so many lies. And he wasn't using the word allegedly, so he was like really speaking about me in a way that's just unhealthy. And the lawyers said, well, he has 30 followers, and but the video that he did about me, he had like 900 shares. Like, people were really watching it. So I felt the way, because when someone sent it to me, and it was 200 shares. And then by the time I went back later, it was 900 shares. So but then they said, you realize that it's because he's talking about you. And so if you start talking about him also, you're going to raise his visibility, which is the only reason why he's picking on you. So you should ignore him. And I'm like, see, no one ever wants to go with me down this road, this path that I want to travel. Everybody just like stops me, but it's the right thing. You have to have people. If you have messy people around you, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, we should do this, because you know they want to get in the hype. But you're good people.
But they not paying your lawyer fees.
Exact. Well, no. These lawyers, honey, one thing about Tamika Mallory is I have so many lawyers around me, I don't have to pay them anything, because they want to protect me for sure. They're gonna file all the lawsuits on behalf of me. Yeah. And I know that, you know, my friends, they are great lawyers, and they really want to do that. But what I just want to end this point in saying that when you have people who can help you see who you are, right? Because sometimes I belittle myself. And I feel like, you know, and I want to fight with the little thing. And people who see and know my greatness, they help to raise my vibration and make me see the power in my voice and in who I am and what I do. And it just reminds me to settle down and get back in alignment with God and my purpose, and stop focusing on the stuff going on to the left and the right. So just make sure the right people are in your corner, because they'll help you be great.
Amen. How about you, Michelle? How about you?
Well, she said a couple things that has my wheels turning. First of all, you know, we already have a couple 100,000 thoughts that run through our head just by the inner sphere of your environment at home, the family, the people that are at your home. And then when you decide to add outer sphere, which is the social media, right? That's too much information overload, and we were not created or wired to deal with all of that. So the heaviness that you could possibly be feeling. Someone said, well, you know, Michelle, sometimes your mood can be dictated by your environment and who's in your environment, but it's also dictated by what's going in those eye gates, what's going in those ear gates. And so that is so important. You know, people can think, you know, of the life that you live, or maybe who you're associated with, that you just have this loud life. I have one of the most boring lives of solitude, because my soul and the heart is like a plant. You know, the seeds that are going in, they're gonna sprout up some fruit. And so it's like the fruit that's sprouting up is from what somebody said or did. I'd rather stay at home and just so that I could stay pure, so that I can stay in a healthy space, because there's nothing like being in a dark, bottomless pit where you are hopeless, where you don't want to live. You are playing let's make a deal with God. Like, Lord, I lived a great life. Just take me. I don't want to go back there. So there are just certain things that you got to subtract out of your life to ensure that you've got a good life. And so many of us were so attracted to dysfunction that peace feels abnormal.
Wow.
Okay, let me move. You go ahead and preach. Go ahead.
Yeah. This relationship is boring. No, it's peaceful.
Amen. Amen.
He's boring. He's what you prayed for, but he's not man enough. Well, he's covering you. He's protecting you. He's faithful. Well, he's just blah, 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 blah. All right, sis, go you for the streets. Just go. Just go on back out there. So that's my little piece. That's my piece.
No, that's beautiful. Can we get some finger snaps and claps for this transparency? The transparency. Right, I am just fascinated by the idea that you all would be up here. Everybody knows who you are. Everybody sees you. We've been watching you for years be out in this public eye, and you will sit here and be so open and honest and transparent.
By the way, she was me. I can only speak from my experience. I think that's where the passion comes from. Like, this is our lived experiences. It's not a place of judgment. It's, sis, bro, let me tell you what I've been through and how to get through it. So just know that she was me. The girl that lived in a state of dysfunction all of her life as a child, that's all she knew, and that's what she wanted. She thought that a non-combative relationship meant something was wrong. No, it's everything that's right. All right, bye.
No, I would love for you to just repeat briefly for the audience. This idea is not non-confrontational, it's peaceful. Could you pick up on that point again? Because I want people to get that.
We think that since we've survived dysfunction, that it is normal. We're going to say things out of anger in relationships, maybe sometimes to the people that we love the most. But when you grow up, you saw your parents fighting, whether it was physical, verbal, emotional, and you never saw healthy conflict resolution. So then you go into a relationship, you get triggered by something he or she says. What comes out of my mouth, it was my mama. I can't fight a man, but I knew how to cut him with my words.
Yes, Lord.
And it's sad when the man says, I'd rather you had slapped me than what you said, Michelle Williams got him up and do. Right? But I had to learn that that was not normal. It is hurtful. It is definitely hurtful. And it's not normal. Just because you survived it doesn't mean it's normal. My sister the other day said, well, mama and daddy, but it wasn't normal. And what's our fruit of that now?
Yes. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. So for my two colleagues here, I would love to hear a little bit of your thoughts about how you think I know you're going to answer this, Miss Mallory, the idea that there's something unique about us as Black people and our experiences with mental health. Do you have any thoughts about that? And then you pick up on that point too, brother.
What's the question again?
What about with us being Black people?
Okay, yeah.
Is there something, of course there is, what kinds of things would you say are unique about our lived experiences and how they interact with our mental health?
Well, one thing I will say is that we don't really know our history, and that is intentional, right? And we see there are attempts to diminish our history even more. We were just talking about the state of Florida, looking at what Governor DeSantis is doing. I was talking to I go to this Italian restaurant in my community all the time. They're my homies, and they're all Trump supporters. And, we debate. Oh, and don't let us have some drinks, because then it's like yelling and screaming in the restaurant. People, looking at us like we're crazy. And I was saying, and that Ron DeSantis, and the governor, of Florida, he's trying to ban Black history books, and not to try, and he did this and he did that. And they were like, no way, that's not happening. Like, what are you talking about? And they actually had to look up the articles. So many people are unaware of everything happening around them. And so that impacts your mental health also, because you don't even know why you're going through what you're going through. You don't even know why in your community police treat you the way that they do. You don't understand anything. You can't really connect the dots to why you're dealing with so much poverty, why housing is the way that it is, why there are food deserts in your community. You don't really even understand that it is like intentionally designed a certain way to keep us at the bottom to keep us oppressed. And so therefore, when you see people working hard, that dysfunction, that confrontation, you see people working hard to come through it, automatically we're like, who you think you are? We're trying to tear one another down instead of us working to help build and grow together. So when we show up in a city and we're like, oh, we need to get together and either vote or, work together to fight for, you don't know the amount of black people, that's where I have my most resistance. The white folks, a lot of them are with us. If you just watch the videos of the summer of 2020, and just watch the videos of the marches in different cities and see how many white people were in the streets. Now, I'm not saying there's not resistance from white folks, but this is not their conference, so we talking to us, right? So they have their own issues. But it's black people that I have to spend my whole day trying to deconstruct the fear, because most of it is fear that people are afraid to even step out. Talking to my celebrity friends, and I have a number of them that will never do a thing. They are scared to death to be associated with me, but we're friends behind the scenes. We text, we DM, maybe we'll party together, but they will not post a thing. They are shaking in their boots about the idea of having people know that they're conscious, that they see and understand racism and oppression and fascism, which is what we're dealing with in this nation right now. So I know I don't have a lot, because I could just keep talking about this issue, but that fear is coming from a place, and it impacts you. It actually cripples your ability to build the beloved community that we should all be working towards. And they have instilled that fear in us so deep, it is so deeply ingrained, that in and of itself is a mental health issue, which is why you can't just be talking to any therapist. You gotta have people who understand your condition and where we come from as a people to work with you, so that when they're talking to young black boys, you're not just trying to heal the surface, you got to go to the root causes of why black men suffer with the things that they suffer with, and why in their households they don't feel valued, why the black woman can be so angry, because we come from a place where people beat the woman in front of the man and the man could do nothing, and therefore over time black women have become our own defenders, our only defenders in our minds. And so our stuff is, our shit is so deep that the mental health issues that we're suffering with, everybody can't help us solve it. Not everybody, and that's why this conference is important, and why what Leonard Charlemagne is doing is important as well.
Yes, sir.
I agree with my sister, 100%. I think what makes us unique, though, is our ability to survive, persevere, and show strength. If you think about it, 10 years ago, it was just that nigga's crazy.
Yeah.
Look out today. Look, we're here, we're paying attention, so, we have a lot to work on, but just from the show of how many people's in the room, we are willing to work as people. Like, we've been behind the 8 ball for so long. But everything that comes our way, we seem to knock it out the park and just keep going. Yeah. But there are mental health issues with that. Yeah. So what we have to be willing to understand is the hurt and the pain that we're dealing with. That's why you get that throwback and that resistance on social media. Hurt people. That's a true thing. So if you could wake up and get on your phone and say something negative about somebody, that's because you didn't feel great about yourself. You didn't have enough good feeling in yourself for the day. Like, because if you felt good about yourself, you're not going to do that. You'll let it slide. So we're dealing with a lot of things at once. As I said, technology's really advanced, but we as a people, we are strong and we're loving. And we care for each other. It's just a lot of distractions. So you have to try to knock down the distractions and then find your soul tribe. You got to find your soul tribe and get with the people who resonate greatness with your soul and continue to flourish, because as a people, we are beautiful. Yeah. Like, we come from, as my sister said, we don't know our history. We didn't have a language, but we invented hip-hop.
We invented everything.
The most popular genre, influential genre in the world today. We invented that out of not knowing something, out of having to make something of our own. So it shows what kind of people we are. Now I think we just have to attach to that more so than, and I love materialistic shit, y'all, don't get me wrong. Let me be straight up with you. I love a nice car, I love nice clothes, all of that. But we have to start being concerned of ourselves and our people first, and then let all of that fall into place. But what makes us unique is the world revolves around us. Cooking, dancing, you name it.
Yes. Thank you for that.
Thinking,
Thank you.
art,
Yes.
walking, talking, dressing, sleeping, everything.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
One
appreciate
thing I must say, though,
Yeah, go ahead.
what we can't let social media do to us as black people while I'm in this room, it cannot be the black man versus black woman. Do not fall into that. Please stop doing that online. If you're here today, you're here because of a black man, and a black woman most likely produced you.
Yeah.
So I think we have to take that out. I think that's something they threw in the system
Yeah.
now to keep us separate.
That's important
Yeah,
for you to say that.
Yeah.
Because if we go back to the election, what was that, 2016, Trump versus Hillary Clinton, the bots, I mean, it is now proven. You can read articles on the Russian bots and all these other bots
Yes.
that were not even black people, but they had black profiles.
Yes.
And when you open it up, it would say BLM, they Black Lives Matter, and they were out there telling people not to vote.
Yes.
And so all of this, what the conversations going on online revolves around folks that are not even real. They're not, I mean, they're real people, but they are not actually our people who are sparking conversations, and as a result, it looks like there's a divide, and then people just start kind of picking their side.
Because if you divide it,
Yes.
you can't heal together.
Absolutely.
That's right.
If
Absolutely.
you divide, the family needs to heal.
That's right.
The individual needs to heal first, but you also
That's
need to
right.
heal as a family, and if they divide it, there's no healing.
Amen. So I'm going to give the last word to Ms. Williams. You have a final word, a parting word for our audience here today.
Wow. There's a war going on, and we are fighting a war. And even as you were saying, you know, even with social media, some of us are fighting a war with people that aren't even real. But what I want us to do is win the war that rages in our mind. All right? What is the mind? The mind is the place where we think, feel, and choose from.
Amen.
All right? So win the war in those things that you think, feel, and choose. We can learn how to reprogram the mind, what we think, feel, and choose. Don't be transformed. Don't be conformed by the world, but be renewed. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Amen.
How do you renew the mind? I'm going to renew what I think. I'm going to renew how I feel. Everything ain't going to bother me.
Yes.
I'm not going to let everything bother me because, like you said, hurt people hurt people.
Amen.
But those of us that are in this room that are healed, we are on a mission for healed people to heal people. So help others win the war that's in the mind. Again,
Amen.
we're going to win where we think. We're going to win in the place of what we feel. And we're going to win in the place of what we choose. And also remember, feelings aren't always facts.
Amen.
Wow.
Amen.
They're
Amen.
feelings. All right?
Wow.
We're not going to dismiss your feelings because they come from somewhere. But sometimes those feelings come from some hurt places, some trigger places, some overthinking. We go down the rabbit hole in some places. But let's win the war in the mind.
Amen.
All right?
Yes.
We got
Thank
this.
you. Can we give them a round of applause? Our wonderful Ms. Williams, Ms. Mallory, Mr. Styles P. Thank you so much.